We interrupt your scheduled programming to bring you news right from Nintendo, which I did not expect today. Hey everyone, I'm your friend Art of Mana, and let's dive into a quick look at the new Nintendo Switch OLED edition, I think is what they're calling it. A very sneaky drop just casually on a Tuesday morning because why not? It's Nintendo. But let's take a look. So, this is what we've got. This is the official news page here, and you can already tell just from the image that's here. It's a white system, white dock, a little bit different than the dock we're used to, and I'm noticing some slightly smaller bezels. So the announcement here says that this is a model with a vibrant 7-inch OLED screen launching October 8th. OLED, by the way, is a technology for screens, displays, etc. This was used on the Vita. This was kind of a big selling point for the Vita. And basically, it's more vibrant and sharp contrast, higher contrast, I guess, basically. It's a type of a screen design. It's not LED based, it's OLED. It's different organic LED, I think is what it stands for. Anyways, suffice to say, it's a good screen. People like them. That's kind of the big selling point. And that's why they call it the OLED model. Now, a suggested retail price of $350. So we're getting a $50 bump in price. And this is, as Nintendo describes it, giving another option for how people want to play the vast library of games on the Nintendo Switch. Okay. Similar overall size, but with a larger screen. There is a different tabletop stand, a new dock with a wired LAN port, 64 gigabytes of internal storage, and enhanced audio for handheld and tabletop play. Otherwise, all the same Joy-Cons will work for this model, and it's going to launch the same day as the Metroid Dread games. So that's kind of exciting that they're sort of bundling these together. I think that's maybe why they went with that sort of steel white color, because it kind of looks a little bit like Samus's suit. Anyways, so yeah, everything else kind of looks like what you would expect, but let's take a look here. Oh, they do confirm all previously released Joy-Con for Nintendo Switch are compatible with this new model. Additionally, the Nintendo Switch OLED model is compatible with the full library of Nintendo Switch games. There is a little triple asterisk here, and it says down at the bottom, Nintendo Switch OLED model is compatible with the full library of games. However, the system will not cleanly fit within all of the design parameters of the Nintendo Labo series. There may also be games where the game experience may differ due to the new capabilities of the console, such as the larger screen size. So, I mean, kind of what they're describing here is just that there's going to be a different game feel, which, I mean, that isn't super surprising because it's going to be a slightly different form factor. Now, this is the official website here, and there's a bunch of nice images here, and then there's a link to that video, which will I'll kind of link in the description for you. There's a 2-minute trailer for it. We won't really go into depth about it because I don't think it's necessary in this video, but it's a really slick video. Lots of great shots and aerial zooms and things like this. It kind of reminds me, again, of the Apple event that we had just a little bit back, where you had these drone shots and these quick zooming and panning camera angles. I mean, this is the design ethos for this kind of stuff right now. And I think Apple and Nintendo have always had somewhat similar styles in this way. So it's interesting to see them kind of come back to some bit of parody. In fact, even look at this shot right here, this image of the screen, using these bright colors, this bokeh effect, which, I mean, this is straight out of the Apple playbook, right? So feast your eyes on vivid colors, crisp contrast when you play on the go. And then we have this stand, which looks a lot like the, what is it called? The Windows laptop thing that's out there, the tablet thing. It's kind of like that, where it spans the whole case, right? And I think that's actually really smart because the Nintendo Switch stand, the little kickstand here, it's not super great. It's not going to hold up, I think, in the long run if you use it a lot. I don't use mine a lot. But yeah, I mean, even when I have used it, I've always been a little nervous because it's like, this is an expensive system, and I don't want it to fall on the table. And, even it's just that 6 inches or whatever that it just goes. I don't want it to put a ding in the Joy-Con, especially on the back of them, right, where the ZR, ZL buttons are. Anyway, that's just a little aside. I think this is definitely an improvement and something that I wish the original used. I also like that it has support for different angles, so it's not just the one. Yeah, I think that's brilliant, especially if they are trying to make tabletop mode a feature that people use. I've used it only a handful of times. Probably the best thing, though, is this built-in wired LAN port. Now, I happen to have a LAN adapter for my Switch, and, it's fine. You just plug in through USB. It has a little dongle, and then you plug in your LAN cable. It's fine. It works. But, this is obviously, I think, a much more elegant solution. Also, you can kind of tell from this image there's something different about the back of the dock. I'll show you something more in just a moment, but for now, just note that. The 64 gigabytes of internal storage, I don't remember what the Switch came with from stock before. I want to say it was 32. Maybe it was 64. I don't honestly know, but obviously this is going to still use your SD cards, etc. I don't know what the enhanced audio is, I mean, it could just be simply that they've improved the speakers, or maybe they have a new driver. It's hard to know. I mean, enhanced audio is one of those things that's really hard to pin down. It's kind of like, enhanced experience. Audio is a very interesting thing, and sometimes it's just very subjective. But, honestly, I've seen in variations of the Nintendo 3DS line different improvements and sometimes backtracks maybe in terms of their speaker setup. So, Nintendo's always experimenting with this kind of stuff. All right, and then let's see here. 3 modes in one. Of course, this is your standard Switch thing. This is why it's the Switch. You can switch from TV mode, tabletop mode, handheld mode. So we're not seeing a totally new experience. We're just seeing refinement at this point. We're seeing all the marketing here to just describe what the Switch is. By the way, can I just take a moment and say I need to get one of those pink Joy-Cons? I mean, doesn't that look good with the blue strap? And I happen to have the blue strap. Ooh, yeah, that looks good. Well, I like that. I like that a lot. Anyway, so yeah, and then we just see some more boilerplate stuff, some of the games, etc. Okay, that's the Nintendo Switch. But let's take a look real quickly at the video that was here. This was what Nintendo put out, and this is the part that I wanted to showcase because I think this is the most interesting aspect. This is the back of the Switch dock. So it looks like what they've done is it's now completely even front and back. It's got a because I think the dock, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, I guess it is even right now, but it looks like it's just taller now, probably to support that 7-inch screen is what my guess is. And then there's a top part, which I'm guessing is open so as to allow for more airflow. And then that little back half rainbow, we'll call it. It's the half rainbow. And this is at 135 in the trailer, announcement trailer, if you're interested. To me, that's brilliant because let me actually just real quickly, I'll go back here and let it roll for a second. So what it's doing here, we're going to flip around. All right, so you've got this plate here, and then boom. So you can plug in as you typically would from the side, but it's also allowing you to plug in directly where the cables will go back instead of to the side and around. And I'll show you, I'm going to splice in a clip here of what my Switch looks like right now in the setup. And it's always bugged me a little bit that the wires are kind of exposed in the way that they are. So I really like that little touch. I think, again, these are just minor things that Nintendo's doing, but I think that it really does make a lot of sense. Now, so this tells me a lot, and this is what I want to get to. This is the heart of this video. Why is this relevant? Well, because I think it actually tells us a lot about the future of the Switch. So if we go back and look at Nintendo's history with remodels, if you first look at, for example, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and you look at this beast, this is the top loader that we eventually got after the original NES was kind of nearing the end of its life. This was an attempt by Nintendo to basically give us something that people who hadn't invested in the ecosystem of Nintendo would be able to get a cheap entry point. This is not, I mean, people love it now because you can mod it, and the top loader is a lot better for reliability for playing your game cartridges because you don't have the spring mechanism for your game contacts to actually connect. But the fact is, this is an unmodded one. I'm keeping mine unmodded, and it does not support the audio video outs that the original Nintendo Entertainment System does. It's only RF, does not have any composite. So this was a way of basically taking the hardware of the Nintendo and repackaging it in a cheap way. They did the same thing with the Super Nintendo, and it was, again, towards the end of the lifespan of the Super Nintendo. They took away some of the functionality, and so it no longer supported S-Video, only the composite. And again, it was a cheap entry point. Now compare that with what we see in the handheld lineup, which is another area that we saw a lot of revisions in. And that is where we see things like the 3DS. We even got the 2DS as part of that evolution. But all of these were sort of little improvements, with the exception of the 2DS, which was taking out the 3D screen display. But that was also an effort to broaden the appeal of the system, drop the price down, and for those who didn't necessarily need or couldn't use the 3D, it made it a more affordable way to get into the ecosystem. But all of the handhelds that came out in that era were improvements that gave you a little bit something more. Now, some of them went so far as updating the processor. For example, the new 3DS was a more capable unit. To me, that shows Nintendo extending the lifespan of its hardware, not trying to fragment its user base. Although if you look at those examples, some of them kind of did. There were games that were only playable with the new hardware, but for the most part, they weren't fragmenting the already installed player base, knowing that there was a huge amount of people who had the old versions. This is exactly what we're seeing with the Nintendo Switch. And I think it's important to note because right now, the Switch has such a large user base and so many people that actually have it, whether it's from most recently Animal Crossing or if it was going back as far as Breath of the Wild. There are a lot of people with a Switch in their homes. And so in order to drive sales of its games, Nintendo knows, we can't just kind of keep putting out hardware that is going to require an upgrade. So to me, this is exactly what I was hoping for. And I'm not intending to get it. But what I like about it, as someone who does have a Nintendo Switch already, is that this isn't a huge departure where suddenly the games I want to get will no longer be playable. This is quality of life improvements for new people getting into the Nintendo Switch ecosystem. And who knows, maybe we'll see a few more of these, and maybe down the line I might be enticed to get one. Just for, whatever reason, just to have the slightly newer model in my collection, so to speak, right? But that's a very small group of people, I think, that are going to want to double dip or triple dip into getting this system. And at $350, you are paying a little bit of a premium just for a few of those extra features. And so this is going to be where you have to sort of discern what do you want to do if you're new to the 3D or new to the Nintendo Switch. I think for a lot of people, you're going to want to stick to the original Switch or this one because the handheld only version, the Lite, I think is only really intended for people who already have a Switch in the home and who have maybe some extended family members who want to be able to play solo games. You miss out on a lot of the great aspects of the Switch if you don't have the ability to dock your system. And for streamers, content creators, you miss out entirely on the ability to actually stream or capture video from your systems. This is just, I think, something that a lot of people are going to look at and say, well, it's the latest and greatest. I want to get a Switch. I might as well get this one. And then that's who they're targeting. There might be some people who want to upgrade. Cool, you get that group too. But I don't think this is necessarily intended to be a replacement of the old one. It's the new refined version with just enough new features to warrant a new model, a new price, and to be out there for the public. So there you go, everybody. That's my take on the news that dropped today. Nintendo ever surprising us. I think it's cool. I think it looks great. Hey, if you want to get into the Metroid franchise, boom, here you go, because I'm seriously so hyped for Metroid Dread. It looks amazing. Can't wait. So do good, be well, stay safe and healthy. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.